If your health was better, would it be easier to focus on your spiritual? If your emotions were more balanced, would it be easier to focus on? You understand what I'm saying here? Fixing the other 6 will make you fixing the 1 a lot easier. Can we all agree those other 6 can easily distract you from working on, quote unquote, the spiritual? Rosh Chodesh Sameach! All right, you may be seated. All right, so brief Rosh Chodesh message. So as always, when we do these things, I point out that these are measurements or markers of time, right? Rosh Chodesh is the new moon, the new month. So we're marking the movement of time. And as we look at the movement of time, we have an opportunity to look backwards and to look forwards, right? What happened in the last previous marking of time since that last previous marking, and then where are we going, right? So you can do that obviously on an annual basis. We can do that on a monthly new moon basis. So we can look at our, since the last new moon, okay? How have things gone in the last month? We can look at week by week from Shabbat to Shabbat. You can look on a daily basis, okay? We can look at anything. And so these are really good opportunities to examine ourselves and to set targets for where we'd like to be in those different areas of our lives, the 7 areas of our lives. Okay, so this is one of those things. Now, the encouragement that I want to always give is that as you do this, first of all, do not look back and be too hard on yourself, because that's gone. That happened. It's not happening now, right? It's already been, it's there. It's back there in the past. But learn from it. Examine it and say, okay, what could I have done better? What maybe should I have tried differently? What should I have done that I didn't do? What shouldn't I have done that I did do? Okay, all those kind of things. And then use that as working reference material for your plan for the next moon, right? Between now and the next one, because the next one, Shvat, is going to be coming. And so then what do we do to get ready for that? How do we plan for that, right? This is the beginning. This is the day 1, okay? All right, so let's make sure that we're saying, okay, let's not get too wrapped up in the ugliness or the disappointments of whatever happened in the past. And don't be too full of yourself. You had a good month. If you had a good month, good. Build on that. Grow forward. Don't get complacent and sit on that whole thing saying, oh, I'm just going to rest on that. Well, no, that's gone, okay? I mean, I want you to think about it almost to be a little glib about it. What have you done for me lately? Don't worry about what you did before. Be encouraged by it, but you can't rest on it, okay? We have to continue and be found so doing, right? Okay, so that's part of this. Of course, remember that as we're looking at all this, it's all about that journey of transformation. Sure, you could be looking and seeing how your finances have gotten, maybe your health has gotten, these are areas that you may be working on, maybe some of your relationships or the community or emotional and psychological things. Well, all these different things you could be working on, and that's great. We'll talk about them in a minute. But really, I want us to be understanding that all of this is a transformational exercise. We exist to do this transformational exercise. This physical life is a transformational exercise. And that transformation has a target, has a goal. It's called Yeshua. That's the thing we're trying to transform into. That's the image we're trying to transform into. And so as you look at yourself, that's what you're looking at ultimately is, am I becoming more and more Yeshua-like? Now, I gave you a goal, a task, an assignment last new moon. I said, I want to encourage you to go ahead and do the level up class, okay? Because the idea of leveling up, I think, is something we should all be familiar with. I hear a lot more people out there talking about leveling up in terms of other secular people talking about elevating and leveling up their finances or their health or some other thing. So it's not a new idea. The idea, though, is that I wanted you to look at it from the point of view of leveling up those 7 areas. What can you do and what are you aiming at spiritually? What can you do and what are you aiming at financially, physically with your health, okay, relationally with your friends, family, etc., and relationships? What are you doing with your psycho-emotional stuff? Are you working on your mental health and your emotional health? How are you doing as far as your community? Working on your part in it and your role in it and how you fit into the community, okay? There are all these things, the 7 areas. Now, I don't know if you want to raise your hands. I'll give you an opportunity. How many of you did finish the level up class in the last new moon? Like 3 people, okay? Fail. okay? No, I don't want you to be upset about it. I'm not upset about it. Guess what? We got a new moon. You know what that means? We can set a new goal, okay? How many are willing to commit to leveling up in this next new moon? Okay, still not all the hands, but that's better. I want you to ask a question of yourself. Why didn't you raise your hand? Why haven't you done the leveling up if you've not done it? If you have done it, do it again. In other words, I don't know why you think doing it once is going to fix everything. Okay? You know, once upon a time, somebody wrote a very, very foundational book called Think and Grow Rich. Okay? I only want to say one thing about the book. The recommendation by the author was that you would read it multiple times throughout the year, forever. In other words, that it wasn't something you would read once and think you got everything out of it. But you would do things to refresh yourself by reading it more than once. Author also wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and said, you know what, you might want to read that on a regular basis. Okay? So the whole point being, we have a book. You know, we got this book, Scriptures. Have all of you read this? Have you read it more than once? You feel like you know everything, you don't need to ever read it again? Okay? So why are we not thinking about all the areas of our life with that same sort of focus? You need to be taking in the things that help you to level those things up on a regular basis, all right? My wife can tell you that when I wanted to level up my health, I started watching, reading, studying everything I could find on the type of health I was struggling with and the type of health I wanted to have. Did you notice that there was two things? One is understanding what I have, okay? The other is understanding how to get to what I want. Also, understanding it in context. Understanding how to get what I want at 62 wouldn't be the same as if I found somebody teaching how to have it at 22, okay? And so that could be for any area of your life. It could be for you're struggling with your emotions. Well, go find whatever information you can find about that particular emotional struggle. Maybe you struggle with anger, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. Go learn. How many times have I told you guys to become experts in your problem? You need to become an expert in your issue. Then target the condition that's what you want it to be. This is what I don't want it to be anymore. What does it look like if you fixed it? Then go find people that talk about how to get you to that, whatever that looks like. Mental health-wise, physical health-wise, financially, spiritually, whatever. The spiritual stuff hopefully is being handled by you coming here. I'm helping you get to where you want to be spiritually. But if that's true, and let's say I am that person, but who's helping you with your finances, your health, your relationships, your mental health, your community action? You gotta have to get help and guidance and expertise in all these areas. I give you some of those, we'll call it the initial stuff in the leveling up class, okay? Now some people are like, well, it's not sundown yet. Why are you talking about all this? It's Rosh Chodesh. It's a part of the whole idea of Rosh Chodesh this is all about you becoming transformed into the image of the Son. Did the Son have any health issues? No. Did he have any finance issues? No. Did he have any psycho-emotional issues? No. Did he have any relationship? You understand what I'm saying? He had all 7 areas running perfectly. Not a problem. And so let's understand that. I'm encouraging you and giving you some tools that can help you in those developments, okay? If nothing else, some of you are like, but I want to just focus on the spiritual. Let me ask you a question. If your finances were better, would it be easier to focus on your spiritual? If your health was better, would it be easier to focus on your spiritual? If your emotions were more balanced, would it be easier to focus on? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Fixing the other 6 will make you fixing the one a lot easier. Can we all agree those other 6 can easily distract you from working on, quote unquote, the spiritual? By the way, somebody might say, well, why do you talk about these things on Shabbat? Do you know how many verses talk about your health? A lot of them, right? How many verses talk about your finances? A lot of them. How many talk about relationships? A lot of them. How many talk about the community? Is this appropriate for Shabbat? You bet. Because he wants you to be that full, complete, tamim means full completeness person as you transform into his image, which means that you can't have a really strong one of those 7 and be really weak in 3 or 4 of them, okay? You're gonna bring them all up. Now, that doesn't mean all 7 of them you're having so much problem with. Let's say if we were talking about a scale of 1 to 10, you may have 1 or 2 that's an 8 or a 9 or whatever, or even a couple of them. But what about the ones that are 4 or 5 or 6? And you need to really pull them up. Because I'm telling you right now, these things are hindering your walk, hindering your growth, hindering your relationship. They're hindering also other categories. Your relationship might be affecting your health. Your health may be affecting your relationships. So it can go either way, right? Your finances may be affecting your health or your relationships, or see how they all can interact? Maybe your health is affecting your finances. All these things have the ability to interfere with each other. Ultimately, the spiritual side is not about sitting there basking in his glory. It's about understanding his desire and doing everything you can to match that desire, meet that desire. Can we agree? What is his desire for you? To become Yeshua-like. So I think these 7 areas help that, okay? I think these help that. Look, I think there's a reason Yeshua spent a bunch of his life building things as a carpenter, as opposed to just walking around ministering. So he knew how to roll up his sleeves and do some work and be productive, okay? I think there's a lot of examples we can get from all of that. So let's be encouraged here as we go forward, and that's why I really keep encouraging you to take the Level Up classes, that you will be happier, you will have more shalom, you'll have better health, you'll have better relationships, all of these things. You'll probably have better finances too, if you would have just leveled these things up. And they are cross-effective, we'll call it, okay? You improve one, it'll improve other ones. They do have an interaction, all 7 of them. Anything you do in one will help or hinder the other ones, okay? If you're struggling in one, it hurts all of them. If you're improving one, it improves all of them, or potentially improves them at least somewhat. Now, the majority of the improvement is in the one, whatever category you're working on. You work on your finances, the primary benefit is your finances. It may affect your relationships if finances have been a problem in your relationship. It may affect your health if all the stress about finances have been hurting your health. It may affect, you understand what I'm saying now? Work on your stuff. Because some of you will think, this one is more important or that one is more important. You know what's more important? The one you're struggling with, because it's hindering the others. Okay? So you know what you might want to do? Maybe prioritize the one that has the lowest score. If you were to give them, there are 7 categories, rank them from 1 to 7. You may want to put a lot of attention in the one that you ranked 1. 7 being the highest, okay? That's the best score. 7 is the one that's best. The one that's worst is 1. Okay, which one got a 1? Or which one got a 2? Which one got a 3? There's 7 of them, rank them, okay? And you work on them in order. Work on number 1, then number 2, and number 3. Try to work on them, all right? Elder and I teach this when we teach our finance class. It's the mindset. Dave Ramsey teaches it one way. We prefer a different way. When you're dealing with your debt, Ramsey teaches, pay off the smallest one first. That's because we're psycho-emotional babies and we need to feel like we're winning. Really, you should fix the one that's bleeding the worst. Not the biggest one necessarily, the one that's costing you the most interest, the one that's bleeding the most, all right? It's costing you the most. So if the number 1 is hurting you the most and is bleeding over into the other 6 categories, you need to fix that. Put your attention into it, okay? Try to find, I think that's a great thing. I've never said it before. Let's go ahead and rank them 1 to 7 and start with 1 and put a lot of effort into number 1. Let's say you did them 1 per month. As we go through these new moons, in 7 months, you'd spend a whole month on each one of those, primarily focused on that one thing. What would that really do for you guys in 7 months? Think about it, okay? So what I want you to do this new moon going forward is I want you to go ahead, rank your 7 areas, Okay? And again, if you want to know what the 7 areas are, I went through them in the counting of the Omer. Okay, so you can go look that up. I went through them in this last level up class, the one I did during Sukkot. Okay, I tell you them again, right? There is spiritual, there's financial, there's your physical health, there's your relationships, there's your mental health, there's your emotional health, and there's your community. Okay? And rank them 1 to 7 and commit in this new moon. So you better do this quickly today or tomorrow, right away do it so that you can spend this month working on number 1. Whatever that worst category is for you. The one that has the most need of attention. And focus on it. What does that look like, Rabbi? How about becoming as curious and researching as you can to understand why you struggle in that area? Understanding your struggle is number 1. Then start to figure out ways to mitigate that struggle, fix the struggle, strengthen the things that need to be strengthened, fix the things that are getting in the way of that developing where it needs to go, whichever one of the 7 that is. Right? Well, I don't know. No, stop that. Okay? If it's got a ranking of 1, 2, or 3, especially, now it could be 1, you could have them actually all pretty close in terms of, so they're not really a struggle or they're all a struggle. So it may not be a lot of difference between a 1 and a 3. But if it's down in that bottom level, especially the one that's the worst, you probably don't know what to do with it. So I already know that that's where you're starting. I don't know. All right, so good. Go find out. Go look up, watch. You type the right words into YouTube or to Google, you'll find somebody that knows something about this stuff that you're trying to do. You may have to reword it several times till you get the answers you're looking for. But somebody's out there dealing with it and has already put it online for you. Multiple somebodies. Start the process. Well, I don't know. Good. That's a good starting point. Now go find out. Well, that sounds like a lot of work. Who said it wasn't work? Anything worth having is going to be worth the work. It's going to take work. Okay, nobody, I'm not talking about young kids who's just born with good health. Nobody stays healthy all the way into their 70s and 80s or whatever without working at it. Nobody has their finances right by the time they're 70 and 80 unless they worked at it. Nobody has their relationships right by the time, you understand what I'm trying to say? You have to work at it. Same thing with your mental health. I probably can attribute part of my stability in my mental health to the fact that I've been studying what makes us do or not do and struggle since I was a teenager. Had I not done that, I might have had more struggles. So I've been working on positively thinking, optimistically being open to possibility thinking, okay, to whatever. So in other words, well, this is a struggle. Okay, so there must be a solution. Some of you just say, it's a struggle, so I guess I can't do it. You have a lot of quit. See, I learned early on not to quit, that there's always going to be an answer if I just can find it. Okay? But it's a mindset. So I'm trying to help you with your mindset. Let this mind be in you. Yeshua suffered all he suffered knowing what was going to come afterwards, that it would be worth it. Are you convinced that this whole thing is worth it? Because you're like, well, but it's pretty much miserable and not fun right now. It wasn't fun what he went through either. A lot worse than anything you're going through. But he didn't count it that big a deal necessarily, knowing what was coming after. Okay, that's an example for us. Now, he did it in a very small window of time. And your suffering sometimes is much more extensive in terms of time, and it continues and goes on longer. But it is what it is. And your question should be, how do I thrive within the framework of what I have? Because whatever you've got going on, there's a level that's called thriving within. Okay? Maybe we need to I'll have to do a separate thing on, we'll call it thriving within. Sounds like some motivational teaching program or something. Okay? But that's what you need to find is how to thrive within whatever you're in. Well, my health is really messed up. And there's not much I can do about it. Thrive within. Maybe you can't make your health any better, but how do you thrive within those constraints? Okay? I'll call it looking for workarounds. Okay, look for workarounds. I've had people tell me, well, my eyes aren't that good anymore. I can't really read the word. So listen to it. Find a workaround. Okay? My hearing's not that good, so read. I mean, whatever it is, find a workaround. I'm not that mobile anymore. There's ways to still get around or have things brought to you or whatever. Find a workaround. Whatever your struggle is, some of it is changeable, some of it is not. Anything that's not changeable, find a workaround. In other words, accepting I'm limited in this way, how can I still do, have, achieve, whatever with the limitation? Okay? Because there may not be a way to get you ultimately to what, if you didn't have the challenge, you could get to, but I promise you if you make the effort, you'll get a lot further than you are now. You'll be able to have, do, and achieve and become a whole lot more than you're doing right now. Look, this game of life we're in is all about getting ourselves to that leveled up place called Yeshua and entering into the kingdom. Okay? And Abba is concerned, which is why I'm talking about this even on Shabbat, is he's concerned with how do you handle that whole fullness? In other words, what are you doing spiritually with your life? What are you doing with your health? Do you even care about it? Every time you choose to put something in your body, have you really thought it through? Do you even care about what it may or may not be doing to or for you? Do you care about how you talk to and treat other people and your relationships and the time you put into those relationships? Or you're like, I don't care about that. But does Abba care about you caring about that? Is that part of you becoming that fullness, completeness, the measure of Messiah that you see in Ephesians 4? Because that's what we're supposed to be aiming at, right? How's your mental health? Are you doing things to keep your mind sharp? How's your emotions? Do they run rampant or do you have them under control? Do they express fully when they're appropriate to express them fully? Because some of you don't even have the ability to express them fully when it is appropriate. Because you've got them so clamped down and rammed down that you don't have any emotion. I don't want to just say it's always about the person that's so effusive and they're just over the top. It could be the person that doesn't have the ability anymore to actually have emotion. They've locked it down so hard and clamped it down so hard that they don't express love or joy or peace or any of that stuff or, sadness on a proper level, anger on a, there's proper levels for all of those emotions. Okay? All of them. Even the negative ones have a proper expression and appropriate timing for under control. Under control means that even if you're expressing it in a big way, like maybe it's a joyful thing and you express it in a big way, it's still under control. You're not over the top to where you're not aware and in control of what you're doing and thinking so that you don't end up making a fool of yourself. Okay? Because you've lost control. That's part of becoming Yeshua-like. Okay, Yeshua did lose his temper on the money changers. It was fully controlled. He knew what he was doing. Okay? It's just one of those things that we have to understand is a part of the fullness of the package. You're also supposed to be growing and developing into a community. What effort are you making to understand what that even looks like? Because people have moved here and we're all disappointed and then left because of the community house. Forget about liking me or not, the leadership or not. No, left because of you guys. Now, it really wasn't because of you guys. It was because of them, because they would say things like, well, they're not friendly. I've had people come and tell me you're the friendliest group they ever met. So it was a subjective experience, right? Subjective. So I said to that person, I said, well, how friendly have you been? I've not seen you go up to anybody. The people that tend to do really well here is when they come here, they act friendly, they show themselves to be friendly, and then people treat them with friendship. They're very friendly to them. The person shows up here waiting for people to all come to you, they're not going to do that. I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, they're just not. At least not at this point, okay? But we're supposed to be community, mishpacha, family, okay? Are we making the effort to understand your role in that and what you can do to be a part of that? We do we host different things you can come to. Some of you can't because you have some other thing, like maybe your job doesn't allow for you, because some of you work different shifts and you can't come to everything. But how many things do you not come to that you could? Okay? Well, I'm not really into that, or I'm not really, well, you know what? I can probably say that as much as anybody. Because I already have a reputation for not liking to do almost anything. Okay? And that's not to be emulated and not to be proud of, okay? I kind of have, that's my growth area. So I can come and participate, and I can have a good attitude, and I can enjoy what everybody else is enjoying. Okay? I will be here tomorrow because we're hosting a Hanukkah party, and I will be here for that. I'm also wearing blue today, which means my wife is going to want to take a blue picture. And I've already said that I would. But that's the point, is that you have to learn to overcome some of the challenges of your preferences in the face of a greater group of people. Not everybody is going to be doing everything they want to do at the same time because it's part of community. Any event that's going on, some of the community is going to be loving it, others will be indifferent to it, some of them might not even be caring for it, but you know what? It's a community event. It's for the community. Friday nights, you really should be here if you can. Some of you, it's at night, driving at night's not a real good thing for you, fine. That's understand. Some of you have legitimate reasons, not excuses, okay? I'm tired, by the way, is a terrible excuse, okay? We're all tired by Friday. Well, maybe not me. Everybody else is tired by Friday. I'm not usually tired, period, okay? But that's not the measuring stick I have. We're doing something that you actually should have been here for, which is something spiritual. It's Friday night. It's Torah study. Why wouldn't you be here? Well, then I got to get up for Shabbat, but Shabbat doesn't start till 1. Under every possible definition, you can sleep in. Okay, more than enough hours. So, so why are you not here? Now, I know for some of you, it's past what you normally go to bed. That's a reason, not an excuse. Okay? But if you're someone that normally stays up till midnight, I don't want to hear the 10 o'clock when we finish Torah study, that's a big deal for you, or 10:30 or whatever. Because you're lying. I don't normally go to bed until 1 or 2 in the morning. After Torah study, when I go home, I'm still not going to bed till 1 or 2 in the morning. So how could I dare say, oh, well, it's so late. Going to bed anyway. So if you know you, and some of you are night people and you don't normally go to bed till later, that's not an excuse. But when the group is doing something, do you make an effort to be with the group? This is supposed to be your family. We're building a community. Now, am I criticizing you? No. I don't care who shows up because I provide what you do with it is what you do with it. You understand that's ministry? We provide the opportunity. What you do with it, what you do. So I don't want you to think that I'm ever disappointed or that I actually have an emotional response to whether you show up or not. I may have a positive response when you show up because I'm glad to see you. Okay, I don't have a negative response when you don't. It's disappointing to me in general when I look out at a half-empty room or a mostly empty room because not the number we have right now is not what we'll see on Friday night. The number we see now is not what we'll see tomorrow at the Hanukkah party. Okay? Well, I'm just not really into that. But where's your support of the community? Okay? Spiritual, financial, physical health, psycho and emotional stuff, or your mental and emotional, your community, your relationships. Community and relationship is part of that. You should have a relationship with your community. You should be building close bonds with some people here. You're not going to like everybody, and not everybody's going to like you. Remember, it has to do with those amount of points of connection. But if you've started at least interacting, I'm sure you found at least 1 or 2 people you have lots of points of connection with. You have some good friends, hopefully. So come with them here and be together in the bigger group with your closer friends that you've developed in the congregation. Does that make any sense? Amen? Amen? So my encouragement is this month, let's start doing those things or setting goals at least to do those things. Assess yourself in the 7 areas. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go do the level up class, please. Okay? Because last week, at least 3 times, I had a conversation with different people where the answer to their question would be the class. At least the initial thing they should be doing is the class, because the class will go through the answers to the questions like, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. That's all in the class. That's the point of the class. It's a launching point, okay? The class is not the end-all, be-all to personal development. It's a great starting point to launch you in the right direction, okay? So I want you to do that. And then I want you to commit this month to start working pretty hard on whatever the worst one was, whatever was number 1 out of the 7, the lowest ranking one of the 7. And then you can choose either to keep working on that next month or then go to number 2. Because maybe you just started making some progress and you want to keep making that extra effort on the number 1. That's fine. Let's work on number 1 until we get it up to at least a 4 or 5 maybe. Let's get it up a little bit so that's as high as one of your higher ones. If you were to re-rank them, it's no longer number 1. It's maybe you're going to work on it till you get it at least so that it's up higher. Does that make sense? So I don't want you just to say, okay, I'm going to give it 30 days and then go focus on something else. Maybe you get it where it needs to go in 30 days. Maybe you don't. By get it where you need it to go, I mean where it now has enough momentum that it's just going to keep moving on its own because you've made new habits and new commitments, so you got a process there. You might not need to give it the full 30-day focus. You might be able to keep it moving in the right direction and now focus on a second thing. Does that make sense? But that's something you would have to assess for yourself, all right? Because all of this is us developing into fully functional, mature adults in Messiah. And a lot of us are still struggling to adult. And adulting is a very simple concept. Fully owning and responsible for yourself, okay? That's my definition of an adult, being fully responsible and owning that responsibility for yourself. 7 areas. You're responsible for your spiritual walk, your physical walk, your financial walk, your relationships, your community, your mental and emotional health. You're responsible for all these things. I own it. I'm not pointing fingers, blaming this. I'm an adult if I own all that, okay? If any of that stuff you're not owning, you're not there yet. You're a dysfunctioning, malfunctioning, or partially functioning adult. You're not there yet, okay? Now, I'm not saying that all of it has to be working great. At least you have to be owning it and taking responsibility, all right? Owning it meaning I'm owning that this is how I got here. I take responsibility for where it goes from here, okay? That's how I'm going to define it. I own how I got here, and I'm now responsible for where it goes, okay? Does that make sense? Amen? Amen. All right.